4, 3. Hello viewers, a happy Wednesday to each and every one of you. Welcome to 284 Media out of Tortola in the beautiful British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant and we're so honored to have you joining me. Joining me out of the USVI once again is Senator Janelle K. Sarauw. Honorable Janelle Sarauw is a sitting USVI Senator in the 34th Legislature of the United States Virgin Islands. Now Sarauw, a very strong advocate for progress. U.S. Virgin Islands was re-elected to the 34th Legislature on November 3rd, 2020. During her term in the legislature, Senator Sarauw legislated bills which sought to promote and provide for the territory's youth, workforce, environment, culture, and of course, its economy. Her signature legislations include the State Apprenticeship Bill, Division of Festivals, Women, Children, and Families Act, WAPA Management Oversight, Toxic Sunscreen Ban, Gas Stations Limitation, Public Service Commission expansion, and the expansion of the Pharmaceutical Assistance Program. She's an active chairman of the Committee on Rules and Judiciary in the 33rd Legislature. Senator Sarauw rallied for greater accountability, transparency, innovation, representation, and revenue generation. Viewers, it is indeed an honor to be joined once again by the Honorable Janelle K. Sarauw out of the USVI. We discuss, of course, 2020, her year as a legislator, as well as some of the major accomplishments seen this year, from her environmentally friendly bill, draft cannabis legislation, the WAPA legislation, and the state of COVID-19 in the USVI, and of course, it being a brand new year, her vision moving forward as a senator. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. It's a conversation you don't want to miss. We'll be right back.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. As promised, I am joined by the one and only Senator Janelle K. Sarauw out of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Senator Sarauw, welcome and a happy new year to you, and also a happy Wednesday.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Now, a lot has been going on within 2021. We've left it behind, but since we're just speaking to you, I want to take this opportunity to have you recap your year as a legislator. I mean, it has been a year of highs and lows, successes and areas to improve upon. With the continuation of the pandemic, it's truly seen leaders like yourself calling for change, and in some cases having a difficult time maneuvering through the pandemic. What has the year 2021 been like for you?
It's been a year of challenges, but also opportunities. With the pandemic and what's happening, we've been a lot of chance to recalibrate, reset, recharge, reorganize, rethink the way that we govern moving forward. We've really focused this year on improving our small businesses, food security. So we passed legislation specifically for St. John, in having improving their fisheries, so having a fish market, a launch and ramp, improving their infrastructure, because the pandemic has shown us the importance of food security and how difficult it can be to import food in a territory amidst a pandemic. Anything, a hurricane, pandemic does, it's a fickle industry. Tourism is a very fickle industry, and at any moment the economy can come to an abrupt halt. So we focused on fisheries. In addition to improving the infrastructure, what we focused on is moving fisheries from the Department of Planning and Natural Resources to the Department of Agriculture, because fishing is agriculture, and that way we have a stronger hold on how we manage food security. We have the cannabis bill that we've been working on for quite some time. It is one of the most complicated legislations, and it's become complicated because we really want to focus on the social equity piece and not have an industry where our locals are locked out. So many brown and black people and minorities have, went to prison for cannabis, and we believe that those who have been in the industry for quite some time, those who've been disenfranchised, specifically our Rastafarian population,
Yes.
they've been screaming, legalize it for since the beginning of time, that we need to ensure that they have a piece of the pie and not colonialize the cannabis industry. So we've really worked on improving that social equity piece that would allow them to have a stake in the industry, whether it's cultivation, the dispensaries, the lab, whatever. But we need to have our locals involved because that's economics 101. You move them up, you improve the status of people, their livelihoods, and you decrease poverty. At the same time, we focused on um, we ended corporal punishment. We passed the corporal punishment legislation to end corporal punishment in schools um, because I look at the constant beating of students.
Hmm.
That's a concept of slavery, and we have to maximize our schools. Our schools educators have to maximize use of emotional intelligence. How do we get our young people to think differently, to look at things critically, to learn diplomacy, and to be able to resolve conflicts? Because when another adult hits somebody else, that's assault. But we're saying it's okay to constantly beat our students. What we did also, of some notes here, we did a public services commission, an
Okay.
overhaul of the PSC. And what the Public Services Commission does is they oversee all utilities, whether it's from telecommunications to our waste management to our energy utilities. And their job is to look out for the best interests of the public and set affordable rates. So what we did was revamp the PSC legislation because the last time it was revamped was in 1970. So we gave them greater oversight so we could better manage what is specifically happening at WAPA. We do have an energy crisis, and then we also changed the composition of the WAPA board. We've determined that over the years that WAPA should be ran by technical powerhouses and not political cronies. And for too long, we've allowed governors over the years
Mm.
to appoint their cabinet members, and the decisions with WAPA have become so politically motivated at the expense of the people. Um, I think I'm missing something else. Oh, Bevis, we moved legislation to really create that repository of our virtual information system because data drives policy and data should drive governance. And too long, we are setting budgets based on how we feel. Half of the money should go to St. Croix, some should go to St. John, and the data is not there to drive our policy making. So we've moved Vivis, which is our virtual information um, longitudinal data system, and we'll make UVI the repository of tracking test scores. It's like the census, the age of our population,
Okay.
profession. So we've been very, 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 very busy this term. In addition to, I'm a volleyball player, so I've ran volleyball clinics almost every weekend. In the month of August, I'm in the gym with my shorts on, coaching.
Doing your thing as
And
usual.
we also Yeah. And we also moved $15,000 to have a VI sports showcase because our athletes need to go away. They need to be seen and receive scholarship offers. We just had one athlete, Amaya Chesterfield, who just signed with Clark Atlanta. So we're in the right direction, trying to navigate this chaotic COVID-19 world. So.
Indeed. I want to backtrack a little bit as you mentioned the fishing situation in agriculture over in St. John. We would all remember you traveling over to St. John and really speaking and being on the ground with the residents there. How are they doing now as it pertains to the fisheries situation and their livelihood in that industry?
Well, it's two part. So on the local side, we've moved the legislation, but the
Hmm.
bureaucracy, you have to draw down money, you have to have plans for the dock. We have to be able to put out RFPs for a contracting company to come in and build. So there's hope that there's hope within the fishing community, but we also have to fight the colonial side where the national park and NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, they've declared so many of our fishing banks and areas national monuments. So
Wow.
the national government, they've limited the areas where our fishermen could fish. So while we are moving ahead in the battle locally, we still have a national battle to fight through our congresswoman in trying to release some of those banks so our fishermen can fish. So when you this is how the conflict happens between the BVI and the USVI and the whole fishing area, because you're fighting for limited resources,
Correct.
and that's something we're trying to improve.
Wonderful. So quite a bit going on. Of course, the environmentally friendly bill. You talked about the draft cannabis legislation, WAPA legislation. As it pertains to COVID, from your seat, what's the state of the territory between St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John as it pertains to the fight against COVID?
Right now, we're not doing well. We have
Okay.
some 2,449 cases as of today. But the good thing is we have a high infection rate, but a very low hospitalization. So our hospitals aren't being bombarded. We don't have an overflow of COVID patients in our ICUs, in our emergency room. People are being tested more and more, so the numbers are rising. But people are just like basically having like the common cold symptoms,
Okay.
so that's good. Um, it is difficult to balance between, you look outside, you have 4 or 5 ships in town that's dropping 5,000 people on your shores. And of course, the holidays made it difficult because people do have pandemic fatigue, and families had gatherings at their homes.
Of course.
Um, we had parties. So, of course, naturally it went up. But I think that as a territory, we've been managing well with the pandemic. What we need to improve on is managing our pandemic funds. We have some close to 138 million in American Rescue Plan funds for education that we haven't really spent. We have 40 million from the first tranche from the COVID-19 funds we haven't spent. We have an additional 50 something million again to education. Education has over $200 million in COVID funds that have not been spent.
Wow.
So we have not
And
been
why do you
moving.
think those funds are not being allocated as yet, or used
I don't
rather?
know. Yeah, I have no idea. That's why I chair disaster recovery and infrastructure. So we have a hearing coming up on the 12th, to find out the status of the American Rescue Plan funds, why haven't those funds moved. And it's not only education, it's public works, waste management. The territory has an influx of federal dollars coming in that we're not moving in a timely manner. So on the economic side of the pandemic, as far as government is concerned, we're not moving that money as we should. But health wise, um, we're surviving a pandemic. But I honestly can't tell you why that's not
Okay.
moving. And we intend to come to the bottom of it because we do have a fiduciary responsibility from this branch of government to ensure that monies are spent.
I'm glad that you brought up the Committee on Disaster, as you are the chair of the Committee on Disaster and Recovery Infrastructure. What is your overall take on the present state of recovery in the USVI? How is it coming along? And I want you to speak on what you already did to that lack of federal support, but from your seat, what is the state of recovery in the USVI?
Um, I'm not pleased with the state of the recovery. We have yet to rebuild our hospitals. We have yet to fix our schools, rebuild our schools. Our roads are in deplorable condition still. Basic services like the BMV, we can't. Smaller projects like our parks and our BMV, the low hanging fruits are not there. We still have many roads that are still not well lit, that are causing accidents. So we have this $8 billion in federal funds that we are struggling with capacity issues, um, with contractors. Some of it has to go down. It boils down to, let me not use the C word. I don't want to use corruption. Preferential treatment to some vendors. So when you look at the PFA is the Public Finance Authority, where federal funds go through. The Office of Disaster Recovery is housed in the PFA. And when you hire two architects and you have them on staff or on contract to do plans for over 20 to 30 projects, I think the time has come for us to look at all of our architects in the territory and those who may be in the BVI and say, hey, we have a plethora of projects. You take 5, you take 6, you deal with these 2 big projects. I think if we're able to split the work, we'll see the project moving. But when you just feed in one company all the work or 2 companies all the work, that's when you see a bottleneck happening and we're not able to disperse the funds as we should. and make progress on the recovery. So I'm not happy with the recovery from a government standpoint, because we're spending too much time lining pockets of people.
I understand, and thank you for your honesty. You've also passed the environmentally friendly bill, also known as the straw bill. When you look at the environment and the sustainability of trying to make sure that we be environmentally friendly, where would you say the U.S. Virgin Islands is as it pertains to not just this bill, but overall?
We're coming along. The straw ban was the first step because we needed people to understand that we have to take care of our environment. When you see sea levels rising, sea temperatures rising as well, hurricanes becoming bigger, it is real. Climate change is real, and we all of us reside on islands, and we don't know. All of us struggling ways to manage our landfills, manage the waste that we generate. So we started with the straws, and that was I had the time of my life. My niece called and she's like, "Auntie, I'm at McDonald's." I'm like, "Okay, why are you McDonald's? Why are you eating McDonald's?" And she's like, "Well, I wanted some nuggets." I said, "Okay, what's the problem?" And she's like, "Why I can't get a straw?" And I'm like, "Because," she's like, "the people told me to call Senator Sarauw because they don't give straws." And I
Right.
go to McDonald's and there's a big press release that Senator Sarauw has banned straws. So I took the blame for the straws, and people were really frustrated. And I got a kick out of their frustration. And they've learned to drink out of eco friendly straws, the
Yes, ma'am.
cardboard straws, every one of them. And it, it was a shift in value. So
Mm.
when we looked at that revolution of values and the need to really honor our environment. Now we're coming with a ban on styrofoam next, and we're going to
Okay.
eventually ban single-use plastic, and then we're moving towards source separation, where the whatever the garbage man comes by your house and he'll pick up the bottles. You separate the household trash from the plastics, and then we'll be able to manage our landfills and move that off island to those bigger companies that can reuse, whether it's metals, copper, glass. There's a project right now at UVI where promoting, we're getting people to take their wine bottles, their beer bottles down to UVI to crush it. It becomes sand again. And when it's hurricane season, you fill your sandbags with the sand from the crushed bottles. So we're really trying
Beautiful.
to take, look at our environment. And
Wonderful.
we also ban
Senator,
toxic
with all, go ahead.
we also ban toxic sunscreen as well.
Yes.
We have a lot of tourists coming using toxic sunscreen. We've lost 80% of our coral reef cover. So we're trying to get our tourists, and we banned the importation of it. So I'm now seeing all of our stores selling mineral sunscreen, which is more environmentally friendly. So we're in the right direction.
Beautiful, and I'd like to congratulate you in that regard. It's definitely a work in progress when it comes to the Caribbean mindset that we have when it comes to our environment and really working out of the patterns that we've for so long been accustomed to. We are in 2022, a new year, and it's going to come with its set of challenges as well. Looking forward, of course, 2020 being hindsight, what are some stuff that you really want to tackle this year?
I want to really, really bring home the cannabis legislation. I'm working with Senator VLA on a legislation to save our retirement system because if that crumbles, then we are up a creek with no paddle. And pension systems across the nation are struggling. I think I want to forge greater relationships within the Caribbean. If I'm to be honest, we have this mentality that because the American flag flies, that
Mm.
makes us a bit more superior to other island nations, and we're all regionally connected. So I want to forge greater relationships within the Caribbean. I want to focus on expungement. We have an expungement bill to expunge cannabis-related offenses and also nonviolent offenses because we see a high
Wonderful.
rate of recidivism that's happening. We have our criminals that come out, nonviolent offenders that come out, and they're unable to get jobs because they can't get their record expunged from 1974, 1980 something. We need to also give second chances. And one of the biggest things I'm moving is to establish the sixth constitutional convention. Our status has been somewhat shaky. We have no constitution. Our de facto constitution is this Organic Act that was drafted by Congress, a colonial document. And if we are to achieve a level of political maturity, we do need a constitution, and we got to look at our status too. What do we want our status to be? Do you want to be incorporated, unincorporated, a commonwealth, statehood, independence? Um, and we've never really answered that question as a people. We just claim that we're Virgin Islanders, but what does that mean? And in
Wow.
trying to establish a sense of identity, um, we're moving to have that convention come forth. So that is being heard on the 17th of this month as well.
Senator, I must ask you, elections in the USVI will be quickly approaching before we know it. If you're so inclined to speak your thoughts on what that could look like for the territory and how important that is, and perhaps can we expect to see you, in any additional roles or new roles?
Um, it's too soon to tell what role I'll
Okay.
be in. But our 2022 elections are critical. We're in a state of flux at this
Mm.
point. We have a gubernatorial race that will be coming up. We have a senatorial race. We'll be electing a congresswoman again, or man, or whoever. We'll be electing delegates to the Constitutional Convention. We'll be electing people to boards like the Board of Elections, the Board of Education. Um, and elections have consequences. People died for the right to vote. So it will be interesting trying to campaign and maneuver in a COVID era because that face to face interaction is
Yes.
limited. Touching hands, kissing babies, that's limited. But I haven't decided yet what my
Okay.
next step would be. But if I when I figure that out, I'll be sure to give you an exclusive interview.
Wonderful. We appreciate you. Senator, I cannot leave without wishing you and your family the very best in this new year. And of course, our brothers and sisters over in the USVI, a safe and enjoyable new year. We do continue to support our brothers and sisters. And thank you so much for your time in greeting the people of the BVI, just to give an update and to wish you the continued success in your duties.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And I want to wish you guys a wonderful new year. I hope the year is kind to you, and I look forward to continued partnership between the BVI and the USVI as we are just a rock stone away from each other. So, thank you for your continued support.
Absolutely, viewers. That was the one and only Senator Janelle Sarauw out of the USVI, of course, touching base, recapping 2021 with, of course, a clear vision for moving forward as one of the senators over in the USVI. A lot of the similar sentiments and battles that we have in the BVI, they too, our brothers and sisters in the USVI, are also facing that. We thank her for her time and do have a beautiful rest of the day. I'm Ron Grant. Bye-bye.